Welcome to Denome and welcome to this crypto update. Now, the main question we have today is now the time to buy Bitcoin and altcoins? And to answer to that question is yes in the short term, but in the medium term, I think Bitcoin is headed even lower than this. And let me give you all of my reasoning right now. Now, the number one thing to look at is the RSI indicator, which is this one here. We have been inside this channel. Now we made a low below the 30 RSI here. And this is an important line. Basically, this is the maximum support for Bitcoin. Whenever the RSI goes to 30, that is the time to buy Bitcoin. So when we scroll backwards, you can see when RSI went below 30 here, that was basically followed with a violent move back to the upside. Then it had another higher low here. And before that, the price actually went to the RSI 30 a few times before we finally headed for completely new all-time highs once again. So for that reason, this is a good bottom here, but I think this is simply a local bottom. This is not the absolute bottom yet. So what I'm currently expecting is a pullback to the upside and then further down. Now, what is the price level that I'm looking for? Let me show you with the Bitcoin futures CME cap. I already drew the line here, but this is my current expectation. The CME cap, the biggest CME cap that we have, or basically the only one before $10,000, is this one here, and we have not even gone to that box yet. But as you can see, we have this smaller CME cap above here, which has not been filled yet. So I think we're headed there next. We get the hopes high, then big money will exit their positions, and then we head lower here, and this is where big money is able to fill their bags. And for that reason, because the market is basically out of buyers, it has to go lower to find those buyers. And the CME gap here, this is where big buyers tend to buy their Bitcoin holdings. So this is why I think we are headed for at least this 78k, or sorry, practically 78k. It might dip a little bit lower than that, but this is basically where big money is starting to buy Bitcoin in mass. So that's why I think we are headed there. Also, when I just look at the chart here, you can see that we basically have this trend line forming here. So the $92,500 price is basically coinciding perfectly with this trend line here. So it would be nice to see a bounce there. And from here, you should be turning bearish because most likely we are headed for another low there. So this is simply technical analysis. I don't have any news today. Obviously, Zelensky is making a deal with Donald Trump. I think they're going to finalize it this week, but I don't think that affects crypto as much. Maybe it affects the stock market, and that can cause the stock market to rise. So maybe crypto rises with it. But all in all, I don't think that really matters. But let's go and take a look at the fundamentals and see what's going on. The number one thing, obviously, is when we go and take a look at the ETFs. The ETFs have been panic selling here. And this is nice to see some capitulation of the ETF holders. You saw $1.1 billion outflow. Then we saw $750 million outflow already. And this is good because we're seeing slowdown of this sell pressure for now. So the panic sellers have panicked. The price has stabilized. Now we're basically looking for a bounce here. And when I go and take a look at the order book, aggregated order book depth, this is where this gets me most bullish. So I'm currently looking at the 1 hour chart here with 10% price move. And I'm not going to explain this chart except when you see a lot of green, that means there's a lot of buy limit orders ready to be fired within a 10% price move. If it's the red here, then it's basically sell pressure from limit orders. So right now we are seeing a lot of basically green sustaining below the $84,000 price level, and the futures markets are completely on the buy frenzy, to be honest. So people want to long Bitcoin at these price levels, basically pushing the price a little bit higher, most likely. So in the short term, this seems to have been a local bottom here. A lot of liquidations have been done, but we're looking for even more downside in the medium term. Now, going to sentiment, we have some updates here. So I've been telling you guys that the supply of Bitcoin has been going into exchanges. That's what I've been reporting here. And now, basically, before this massive move to the downside, we did see a lot of deposits flowing into exchanges, and that caused the price obviously to go even lower. Now, if you look closely, you can see that some supply is already leaving exchanges, meaning that there are buyers basically ready to snatch Bitcoin at these levels. Also, a little bit worrying part here is when I look at the stablecoin market cap, you can see we had $201 billion of stablecoins. Now we only have 199.5. So $1.5 billion of stablecoins have been redeemed off the market. So let's see how this trend continues. But that's the situation there. Then here is another sign of panic selling. So we are seeing old wallets that have held Bitcoin for more than 3 years, which is this blue line. Some old wallets are basically panic selling here as well. So capitulation definitely going on across the board, but still looking for more downside for these reasons. When I look at the Bitcoin supply distribution, you saw basically going into this dump, we saw this massive these large mega whales, 10,000 to 100,000 Bitcoin wallet holders, they were selling right to this dump here, which got me extremely worried. That's why I signed the or made the warning videos that I've been making. And now you can see that some of them have been starting to buy back as well. So this is okay. Not obviously great. We want them to accumulate even more, but it's good. It's a good sign. So all in all, when we take a look at the fundamentals, the technicals, all of these things, it's just basically coming back to this exact idea here. So a pullback basically back to this trend line high here, and from there we're most likely headed for another low. Usually when we see Bitcoin have a crash like this, it doesn't go straight down, it has a pullback and then it continues on the path. But $78,000, that's most likely gonna be, or $75,000, whatever. $75,000 would be basically the this previous high here, this high here. So that would be like just like the technical, or $74,000 would be like a technical support level as well. So all in all, this range here is basically most likely where Bitcoin is headed before we start seeing probably like consolidation and then a breakout back to the consolidation here, and then up we go. That's kind of what I'm currently expecting. Obviously, all of this is currently supported or determined by the S&P 500 index. And I told you guys that we are below the trend line here, unfortunately, which means that this is most likely gonna trend to the downside here. But here's the thing. I'm looking at the logarithmic view, and this allows me to front run the markets because usually people don't look at the logarithmic view and their trend lines are like this. In their trend lines, everything is still good and this is the time to buy. This is another reason why I think we are going to have a bounce before we have another plunge. So most people don't use logarithmic view on S&P 500, most traders. But I'm using the logarithmic view because I think it makes a lot more sense, especially when I'm looking at the 100-year history of S&P 500 index. If I'm not looking at the logarithmic view, this is absolute garbage. I cannot analyze this chart here. It's useless. But here we're seeing that we're basically at this channel high here as of now. So it's unlikely that S&P 500 index is having just another rally. Obviously, it could if we see massive stimulation packages going on, but we're not seeing massive stimulation as of now. So I'm thinking that this is headed even lower in the I don't know, in like a 6-month window. So that's the situation there. So overall, even though I'm saying that Bitcoin is headed for like 75K, even gonna be the low. There is a chance that we are headed for another like 50k even if S&P 500 index has a massive crash. I'm not currently betting on it because that would take a lot of patience, but I'm just warning you guys that if you see a bounce back to like 93k, that could be a sign that probably a good time to take a lot of the money off the table. Wait for uh, wait for a uh, confirmation of a new trend, like money printing trend, something like that, to basically make big bets again. So all in all, I'm saying this is most likely the local bottom. We head a little bit higher, then we head lower, and from there, I will obviously keep you guys updated what we think of the markets at that point. So that's it for this update. I hope you got a lot of value. I hope some of you guys were able to basically uh, at least secure some of your capital and you did not get completely lost in this crash. Another good thing that I'm seeing from this crash is that altcoins are, even though they already crashed pretty hard, they did not continue to crash as Bitcoin went lower. So most likely altcoins we will have a bounce to the upside as well. So I did make a few altcoin bets here and there as this crash was going on. So let's see how things go, but this is my analysis for now. And that's it for this video. I will see you on the next one, and bye bye.